Welcome to a new episode of Thursday Reviews. Today we have the P-SB7 Spirit Box that we will be reviewing today.
Here it is, one of the most highly used entry-level equipment for ghost hunting. It also doubles as a radio. The way it works is by quickly scanning through radio stations, and you're supposed to be able to hear spirit voices come through. It is powered by 3 AAA batteries or by a 4.5 volt DC cable. For some reason, I don't remember getting that cable for it. Plus, when you're ghost hunting, you probably wouldn't want it plugged into a wall anyways. So there are 8 buttons. Here's the power button. You have to hold it to turn it on or off. This button changes to AM or FM radio. These 2 buttons adjust the volume to the world's quietest speaker. And just as a disclaimer, it might not actually be the world's quietest speaker, but sometimes it sure seems like it. Anyways, the next 2 buttons scroll through the radio. If you press them, they scan one step. But if you hold it, it scans forward or backward. While it sweeps, you can adjust the speed by pressing this button. It shows you the milliseconds on the top. For some reason, and I still don't get why, the AM frequencies scan much slower. This is as fast as the AM radio scans. Speaking of the radio, you know how FM radio usually starts at 87.5 millihertz? Well, they decided to give you all the way to 76 millihertz for extra white noise, which is actually a pretty good idea. There's also a backlight button to turn on or off the blue backlight. Oh, and don't forget the antenna that telescopes out the top. So you remember me talking about the horrible speaker? Well, it's not even on the front. It's not this thing. It's this thing on the back. Luckily, you get a headphone and speaker out jack. Now, what I find weird is that it looks like it says spout, but really it's SP out. As far as I know, they both do the exact same thing. You also can't use both jacks at the same time. Okay, I think it's time to listen to it.
Okay, so here's the Spirit Box. Now, if I turn the volume all the way up, that's as loud as it gets. Not very loud. So we're going to turn it back to where we had it, and I'm going to plug in an external speaker. There we go. Probably hear that a lot better now. So what we're going to do, we're going to scan through the FM radio at all the speeds, and then we're going to go to AM radio and we're going to scan through that one at all the speeds. Alright, here we go. We're going to scan through FM 100 millisecond scans. Okay, we're going to change it. 150. Okay, I'm going to change it again. 200. There's 250.
Add to the list.
And then finally, again, that's it. Oh, 350. Okay, now we're going to do AM radio. Same thing. So this is as fast as AM radio scans, 200 milliseconds. Here we go. So here it is. What do I like about it? Well, I would say this thing is actually pretty good at what it does, because as it scans, it's very seamless. It happens very, very fluid, and the AM radio maybe not so much, but it definitely has a fluid feel to it, especially on the FM radio. So it also gives you a lot of freedom because there's a lot of things that you can set. There's a lot of variables that you're dealing with here, because you can adjust the speed, you can adjust like AM or FM, you can go forward or backward. There's a lot you can be, you know, that goes into it. Also, as an added bonus, because it scrolls through FM radio, you get to listen to the radio. If you stop on a station that's a radio station, you can actually listen to it. There are a few things I don't like about it. The first, this is not the go-to thing that you should be using for ghost hunting or doing anything like that. Is it something that you can bring with you? I mean, yeah, but you should have... there's a lot better things out there for ghost hunting than just using this. So I kind of touched on it earlier, but what I don't really like how the AM radio scans. It pops a lot. Maybe that's just how it is by design, because AM radio is scanning through kilohertz and all the other radio bands are scrolling through millihertz. It's possible that that's just how it is because it's scrolling through kilohertz, that it has to be slower and do all that. It just seems kind of weird. I also really don't like that they have the speaker on the back, and it's really, really low quality, very quiet, and you gotta use an external speaker. You have to. Otherwise, it's just... because if you just try and use it as is without anything plugged into it, you're not gonna be able to hear what's going on, or the sound's gonna be really, 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 really washed out, or like really just garbled sounding. This is not a pro or a con, it's just something I have to say about it. I don't know if it works. I'm not sure. I've had this for a couple of years now, and I have used it times where it's just like, yeah, it's just scanning through radio, nothing's happening. Or there's times where you kind of question, like, not sure if that could be disproved. So, do the pros outweigh the cons? Maybe. See, again, like I said, I don't really know how well it works. There are better equipment out there. For starters, this isn't bad, but I just can't say for sure whether it works like advertised or not. I have seen so many videos on YouTube where they claim that these are useful and that they work and all that, but I've used them at least probably about a dozen times or so. I'm kind of on the fence with it still. Like, I really can't say for sure whether it's true technology, spirit voices are coming through between the radio static. There are different boxes. There's the P-SB7, I think, or it might be SB9. This is the P-SB7. If you get that, the higher up ones, it's like 2 radio scanning frequencies at the exact same time, and if voices come up through that one, that's a little more believable. And then there's the Geo box, which that's quite a bit more believable because it's not just a radio that's scanning. It has actual, like, it drowns out the radio frequencies and reverbs the voices and all that kind of stuff. And it's meant for ghost hunting. This is just a radio. It's just scanning through radio stations. And it just so happens that people have noticed that spirit voices supposedly can come through with it. Now, again, like I've said, I've never gotten really, like, hardcore proof, like an actual response. Most likely, a lot of it is just coincidence. See, here's the thing that a lot of people are doing with these spirit boxes. You ask a question, and you're expecting an answer in your head, and you're listening for that answer to come through on the spirit box. And if anything remotely similar to that comes through, you immediately will assume that that's what it said. That's not always the case, though. It's not always the spirit saying that. Maybe it's just, it's just voices through radio frequencies that just happen to come through like that. Recommend the P-SB7 spirit box? I would say only if you're planning to just begin with this. Maybe you're just starting out and you want to get some basic entry-level equipment. This is something that you could start off by using, but I would recommend upgrading to a different spirit box later. Search up spirit box and just search them up. Do a little more research with the P-SB7, I think it is, the Geo box, and things that Steve Huff Paranormal. I've watched Steve Huff on YouTube, and he has a huge thing that's all spirit boxes. He used to use these, and then he started going on to the Geo box, and then he started making his own stuff, and it's a lot more believable than these, my personal opinion. So, I'll see you next week with a new episode of Thursday Reviews. I hope to see you then.